Looks. Okay. I guess we're in. Yeah, we're in. So we're recording. And people, yep, there's Karen. Okay, and there's Kay. I'm going to take attendance real quick while everybody rolls in here. Can you guys hear us? Okay.
I can hear you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, and there's Lauren, and is that Jordan? Yep. And Carrie, you made it. Who is 29990? You can put it in the text chat. Oh, that's Jim. I could hardly see his face. All right, who else we got here? Becky. And Emily. Allie. Okay. All right, well, let's see what this is. Okay, so welcome. I am sure that a few other people will probably drift in here, but we are recording, so if you have a friend who wasn't able to make it today, we will make it available for them. It'll probably be posted tomorrow, so we'll make sure that they get all the information that they need. So, can you guys see Angie over here? Can you see both of us? Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who haven't met Angie yet, I know some of you haven't had an opportunity to meet her beyond like being at DLD and things like that. So this is the lovely Angie Satterfield, and she is going to shepherd you through this whole process just perfectly. So we're going to go ahead and get started with a little presentation. And let me share my screen here. I want that one. Okay, can you guys see presentation that says ordering materials, blah, blah, blah? Yep, okay. So that's what we're here to talk about. And if you haven't been able to join me on a Zoom meeting, I have the free version, which gives me 40 minutes. And it is very serious about 40 minutes. It will boot us right off. So we are going to race like mad through this to try to get it covered in 40 minutes, which I don't think will be a problem. But if it is and we get cut off, we will follow up with you guys with the last bit of information. So, Angie, you ready to talk about budget sheets?
Yeah.
So your ordering tools are mostly rooted in your vendor accounts, your budget sheet, and a Canvas course. So Angie's going to talk through those things and tell you how they kind of work together. So, Angie, take it away.
Okay, first, can we get a copy
of the budget sheet?
Yeah,
yep.
Budget sheet.
So let me pull. Well, I can't get that screen to come up. Hang on a second. Why does it say launching? Sorry, guys, a bit of technical difficulty. So I'm going to grab another screen here to show you. This one. Okay, now you should see a Google spreadsheet. All right.
Okay, that particular sheet we're sharing with you in Google Sheets. And so you can check it on your Google Sheets and see if you have yours. I've already completed the amounts for elementary, and I've got to finish up for middle and high. But this is what our main sheet that I say the Bible is going to be. At the top, you'll see in the yellow, that's how much, say, for example, your school would have to start out with. And then, can they see the other on the end? And then on your right,
over there.
On your right hand side, you'll have like a date, and it has like a vendor. You'll sit and fill all of that out and put like your do not exceed amount. And if you get a quote for some things, then you can go ahead and put your estimated cost in there. Most important is you'll have your vendor, which is your company. And if you want your barcodes, please make sure that you put your 8-digit barcodes, your starting barcodes and your ending. And then for some of the vendors, we'll tell you to name your order. If you would put that in special notes, for example, you can say Farragut Intermediate 2019 book order, if that's what you're naming it when you're sharing your sheets with me, with either like Follett, Macklin, Bound to Stay Bound or something. So then that way that's my reference of, double checking with you. Okay. So once you complete that, for example, you can say, like, for instance, Follett, you can fill that out and you can say, do not exceed, say $2,500. And so, but then when your invoice comes, you may want to put $2,500, which I didn't. Y'all can tell I'm nervous. Okay, $2,500 here. So once you do that, it's going to subtract from your total. If something is different, I'll go in and change it so you can periodically kind of like, you can keep an eye on it so that you know how much you spent down. Once you've spent down, then I'll be once I get that, I immediately start getting your orders, okay? And then once you spent down, you will get your merchandise. And then once you get your merchandise, you'll start sending in the purchase packing slips. And that's going to give me the authority to say, okay, you've got everything that you ordered and it's okay to pay the vendor.
Now, if some of you new folks are a little confused about what the do not exceed column means, we'll go over that in just a minute. But does this part make sense? You're going to put in, your estimated purchase amount for each vendor. You may have 9 vendors on here. You may have just 1. That is totally up to you. And then it's going to auto adjust your balance. And if you have a significant balance left, you may want to go back and beef up your order, or you might want to order something from a different company. If you've got probably less than $20 left, or let's say less than $15 left, it might be a little difficult for you to, get something that's worth your time. But that sheet is going to do all the math for you.
Okay.
So when you guys, let's say this Follett order here, this $2,500 order contains, let's say it's 112 books. You want to make sure that you provide 112 barcode numbers, okay? Then if let's say you order 3 books from Rainbow down here, you'll want to provide 3 barcodes from them. Every single book that you order needs to have a barcode set aside for it. Okay? Make sense? All right. So let's toggle back then to the presentation here. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Canvas piece of the ordering process. So you guys, are we back on the presentation? You see Canvas Business Center? Okay, thank you. So in the Business Center Canvas course, you're going to see a fresh new module in there. It's already turned on. You should be able to view every bit of it. It's called 2019-2020 Library Budget Ordering Information. And when you open that up, there's going to be several pages that are stacked up there ready for you to look at. The first couple of pages are just some tips about kind of what the ordering process looks like. Then the next few pages are the assignments. So when you're completing your budget sheet, you know, Angie will need to know when you are completely finished. She's not going to get in here and guess and say, oh, I see, for example, I'm just looking at Lauren's face here, so I'm going to use Lauren. I see that Lauren is almost out of money. I'm assuming she's done with her orders. Angie's not going to assume that. Lauren may have some, you know, have that little bit of money that she has left tagged for something. So the way that you indicate that, hey, Angie, I'm finished. You're not going to get any more orders from me. It's all over on my end. You're going to complete an assignment in Canvas, and that's sitting in this module waiting for you. There's also a place where you can upload packing slips as they begin to roll in. Angie said she doesn't care if you want to scan them. Your Rizzo machine at your building acts like a scanner. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to send the physical copy through school mail to her, that's fine too. But she has to have the packing slip, and it needs to be signed by you. And you need to go through it and make sure you received every single item. Okay?
And also, please notify me immediately if you should receive an item and it's damaged. So then that way I can contact the vendor and get a replacement item immediately.
Yeah, or if you're missing stuff,
yes,
we'll get that taken care of for you too. So a lot of the pages in the Canvas module are how to order from specific vendors. They all behave a little bit differently. So we're not going to go through all of them because Angie's done a great job of being very explicit about how those vendors, you know, how their paperwork flow goes and all that. But when you open up a vendor's page, you're going to see something like this. So this is Rainbow Books, okay? Some of you may be familiar with them. If you are ready to order from them, like let's say you've already gotten a quote, which is part of the process, and you're ready to order, you'll go here. You'll click on this teal box, and it's going to take you to a new page with a new set of instructions. If you are just getting started with Rainbow and you're getting a quote, if you've built a list with them and you want to know how much that list is going to cost once all the shipping and the processing and all of that is calculated, you'll start here with the yellow. So these little squares are actually portals into additional sets of instructions. Okay. Over here on the Bound to Stay Bound one, you can see that the squares are still there, but they're worded a little bit differently. So here, the yellow is going to give you just some additional details, whereas the teal is going to send you down the path to ordering. When you pull up an online ordering interface, often it'll say something like request quote or yes. Order online. Yes. We do not order online. Angie does, but you don't. Okay. So you're just going to get the quote and then Angie's going to place the order. Does that make sense? Okay. If you're ever not really sure, if you think, oh, I don't know if this button's going to like charge me some money through a legitimate order, or if this button is going to just print a quote, call the vendor or call the sales rep that's listed on there and ask them what the best route for you to go is. Okay. You're also going to see if any of the vendors are offering something special like free processing, free shipping. If they're ordering anything like that that we've been made aware of, you're going to find it. There's usually a little section at the bottom of a page that says, here's some keynotes. You'll see any special offers they have there. Okay. So are there any questions about what's in Canvas, what's on your budget sheet before we get into the whole do not exceed idea? Nope. All right. So some of you may be very familiar with this practice. Some of you may not. But when we talk about do not exceed, we're essentially talking about selecting an overage. So what we ask you to do is when you're building a list, and it can be one list if you're only going to go with one vendor. If you're doing 5 vendors, you'll be making 5 lists. But whatever list you're working with, it should be worth 10% more than you actually intend to spend. Now, I know that sounds bananas because you think, well, how am I going to pick out materials that I don't legitimately have the money for? So it works like this. When you place an order, sometimes by the time it gets filled, some of the titles you've chosen are out of stock. You've probably experienced that before, right? So rather than waiting for those titles to be restocked, if you've included a 10% overage, that's going to give the vendor some substitute titles to pull from, okay? 10%, that's not a magic number, but that's typically enough for the vendor to have enough suitable replacements if they, sell out, if it's the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid. If they sell out of that, rather than wait for the restock, they can see that, oh, she also wanted these other books. I'll grab one of those instead, okay?
And also Knox County with the Library Media Services, we do not do back orders. So that's
Yes.
the reason for this procedure.
Yes. So basically what you're doing is you're creating a pool of items for the vendor to build your order from, okay? So this is where if a platform has the option for you to mark specific books priority or first choice, whatever phrasing they may use on that, this comes in really handy. Because if you are, let's say you've got 22 books picked out and there are 5 of them, like these are the ones my kids have been begging me for the last 6 months. I really, really, really hope that these show up in my order. Mark those your priority books or your first choice books, whatever the vendor calls them. And the vendor will know, okay, definitely get these, and then create the rest of the order with the, the other books in your list. So we'll see a little demonstration of that. Let me pull this. Oops, went the wrong way. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, so let's say you had $200 to spend. Okay, and if you do the math on these books, including these guys here, they equal $200. But sometime in between when you built your list and the vendor receives your order, these 2 titles sold out. Well, now if you add those up, now you're only purchasing $170 worth of items from that vendor. So what you would have to do if you had just given them this list is you would say, oh, great, now I've got $30 extra. Now I've got to go back and choose another book, okay? Instead, if we were, oh, this is being hateful. Okay, instead, if we had created a bigger pool, if we had selected all these books, which actually adds up, I think it's to like $225, And if these two guys sell out, that's okay, because now I can maybe do, let's see, this one and this one, that's 65 and 95 and 110, 130, let's see, 155, 200. I can make 200 out of these books here, or some other combination of these titles. Okay. So now you still don't get the sold out titles, but you get something, and you don't have to revisit your budget and make a fresh order and all that good stuff. Okay. So we talked about if there are titles that you are really, really passionate about getting, indicate that somehow. I just put stars on these, but there's usually a checkbox beside the title that you can indicate that you want that one first. And then this is basically just a summary of how the overage works. And so when we talk about do not exceed, how that comes into the overage is we tell a vendor, here's $220 worth of materials on my list. Please do not exceed $200. Don't give me more than $200, because that's all I can afford.
And that's including shipping.
Yes.
And any processing.
Yes. So when we see this do not exceed amount, you're telling Follett in this example, I've only got $2,500. Don't send me more books than that, because I won't be paying you for more than that. Does that make sense? Now, I do have some folks who don't like to do the overage. I hear comments like, oh my gosh, it's hard enough to pick out $2,000 worth of books. I don't want to pick out $2,200 worth of books. And I get that, but I have seen this cause additional work on the back end, because inevitably when a few things are out of stock, then suddenly that person's got $400 and they have to start all over again. So it really is better to do it on the front end. Okay. All right. So I wanted to show you a little bit about what happens on the back end when you're ordering. Some of these smaller vendors, they're going to kind of do it the old-fashioned way. They're going to give you a quote, and you're going to upload that to Angie or email it to Angie. Which is it, email or upload? Either way, whatever they want to do. Okay. Some of the big vendors, though, like Follett, I think Permabound, Bound to Stay Bound. What you'll do is when you build a list in their platform, you'll simply share it with Angie. Okay, so we're going to see how this works. So can you see my tidal wave screen? Okay, so let me sign in. There's me. Okay, so I've got a list already created up here. Some of you may already be building lists too. So I'm pulling up my sample Mosher October list, and right here it says share. So I click share, and I type in Angie's username,
which is A. Satterfield.
And this information about how to do this and what Angie's username is also in that Canvas course. Okay, all that's in there. So I just type that in. Did I spell it right? I think I did. And I hit continue. Now, it says, yes, I'd like to share the following list. Yes, share the list. And that's pretty much all that happens. So what we were seeing last year was people would think they had shared it, but it didn't come through. So you might not see any confirmation on your end.
I would say if you give me like a day or two, because with everybody's orders coming in, I may not have gotten to yours, but I am checking every day. So if so, you can call and say, hey, did you get my, or send me an email, say, hey, did you get my my shared list? And then I can give you a confirmation, say yay or nay. Okay.
Yeah, because Angie does these in the order that she receives them. So if if you, and there's nothing wrong with waiting till the very last day. I mean, that's why there's a last day, right? But just know that if you turn yours in on the last day, there are going to be lots of folks ahead of you that, that you'll be processing. So just be patient as we get through, was 80 some odd orders.
But don't hesitate to either call me or email me.
Absolutely. So we looked at Canvas. We talked about how we find out, specifics on the vendors. We saw how a vendor works. And then I'm going to go back to that for just a second. This list was $2,248.56. But I remembered that I had only allotted $2,000 to Follett. So see, I've got my $2,000 plus my 10%, about $200-ish. So Follett is only going to be giving me $2,000 worth of stuff. Okay.
And then sometimes it may not be it may not be 2,000 since they can't go over. So it may come out and it may be like $1,918.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And sometimes their prices change. Mm-hmm. So you build a list and then their prices drop. And sometimes we can't avoid that kind of thing. And of course, we would want you to go back and spend that money if it's a significant amount. But we're trying to avoid as much of that back and forth as we possibly can. Okay, so after you've submitted your order, you're going to go back and update your budget sheet, do the D&E, the barcodes. Angie mentioned making clear names for your list. Last year, we were seeing a lot, and this is nobody's fault. I mean, you think about what's in front of you, right? But we were seeing things like Book Order 2018. We had no idea who that belonged to because it doesn't have your email address or anything connected to it when it's shared over from Follett or Bound to Stay Bound or whatever. So we asked that you name it something like my school name, the date, fall order, or just something that's very clear about who it belongs to. When you've spent all your money down to the nearest penny, you'll complete that assignment that I talked about back at the beginning where we said this is the assignment that lets Angie know, hey, I'm done spending money. Don't expect any more orders from me. That's in Canvas. It's called Confirm Your Budget Sheet Completion. You'll just go in there, and I think you have to type in something like my budget's complete, something like that. Easy peasy. And then you just wait for your shipment to show up. Yay. Now, when your shipment arrives, you got to get that packing slip out. You're going to check the packing slip against the items. And then, like we said, you can either scan it to Angie or you can send her the physical one. If it's been a really long time and your order hasn't shown up, call Angie and let her find out, where it is, what the holdup is. When you're filling out, or when you're especially I'm thinking about the big vendors, there's usually on one of the screens as you go through to build a list, there are usually some options about what you want them to do if it's a pre-order. So let's say you order the new, I don't know, some fantastic new John Green book that's supposed to come out in March, but you go ahead and order it now. Sometimes it'll ask you, do you want us to hold the whole order until that title is available and ship it all at once? Or do you want us to ship what we have now and then send the release titles when they come out? Make sure you indicate that you
just go ahead and see what they have.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll be waiting for a really, really, really long time for some of that stuff. And you might want to consider if there's a title that's going to be kind of out there in March or April for a publication date, you might want to not order that with your budget funds, maybe order that with some lost book money or something like that on down the road. That's an option. Okay, books aren't the only things you can buy. You can buy furniture, although lots of you won't have enough to do a whole lot of furniture buying. So you might want to consider, whether or not that's the best use for this chunk of money. Okay, I got 10 minutes left. Zoom is giving me my warning. You can buy tech gadgets. We have a system here in Knox County where we warehouse computers, iPads, speakers, toner, printers, all kinds of things. We buy them in bulk so that we can pass those savings on to you guys. There is a catalog, an online catalog, where you can go in and see what's available. There's also a page in the Canvas course that tells you how to do that. Okay. That's probably going to be your best bet for ordering gadgets, but they don't warehouse everything. So if there's something that you need that's, pretty specific, contact Angie and she can get with the right people to help you acquire that item. You can buy supplies if you need labels, if you need Mylar dust jackets, if you need pencils or crayons. You can buy any of those things, and you can also buy database subscriptions. There are plenty of databases out there beyond the ones that we supply. In that same Canvas module, you'll find a pricing sheet for some of the most popular ones. I've gotten pricing from vendors. If you're an elementary, excuse me, and you want to buy additional Pebble Go flavors, you can do that. If you're in high school and you've got a big AP contingency and you need to buy JSTOR or something like that, you can certainly do that. So that's all provided for you as well. Nope, didn't like that. Okay, now, the big takeaway from this whole thing is that if you have questions, ask somebody, okay? Ask Angie specifically because she will be able to tell you everything you need to know. We want to make sure that you are getting through this. We want this to be a fun and exciting thing for you, so we want to make sure we support you. Because when those things show up, I know you're going to want to make big plans for getting those in your kiddos' hands. As of right now, we are planning to release budgets at the end of the week, and that means that you're going to have until November 1st at the end of business to get your order submitted. Now, if Angie or I gets hit by a bus or something equally tragic before budgets are released, we may have to scoot those dates around, but this is the plan as of right now, okay? What if I don't have every single piece ready by November the 1st? Nobody's going to get mad at you, but you are at that point going to be way at the back of the line. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Angie, you got anything else?
No, just give me a call, but do try to get them in, and please don't forget your barcodes.
Yes.
That's one of the things that you send the order in, but then you forget your barcodes. And so that's a delay.
Yeah.
So I kind of put it to the side and keep moving on. So just make sure that's okay. And if you have any questions, call me or email me.
So I am going to say thank you for coming, and I'm going to just leave it open right now for anybody who wants to ask a question. Let me get back to this screen, and I'm going to hit this.
There's a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay, let's see
barcode
here.
Range and deadline.
So, okay, do we need to add a couple of extra barcodes to allow for the overage? Yes. So even if your order contains, if it's 10% over, if that's $200, that might be 10 books, provide a barcode for every one of those. Now, you're probably not going to get every one of those books because of the cost, but that's okay. You have 10 million barcodes, you're not going to run out. So that's not an issue. Let's see what else. We just want a range of barcodes. So let's say you order 100 books and your barcodes, let's say you've got 80000 100 through 80000 200, okay? And make sure that you are providing 8 digits. Some of you have a barcode range that begins with an imaginary 0. It's a invisible 0 and 7 digits. When you write yours down, just put the 0 in front so that it makes the full 8 digits. When is the deadline to receive all orders?
Well, Knox County always tries to start closing out their books and what have you. So everything needs to be in by April, say April the 15th. It's always like income tax time. It's when they want everything in, so then they can start making provisions of paying the vendors and making sure everything is cross-checked out.
But ideally, we would want that's why we're doing your orders now, because this money is for this year's kids. And so we want to make sure that we get these materials in their hands.
Someone said last year, somebody did get their books to about April or so.
What else?
I was wondering, I think we were looking at some of our usernames and sign-ins for some of these companies. Is that still being worked on, or is that something I need to go in and check and make sure that I've got it ready to go?
I sent out a spreadsheet a couple of weeks ago that had them on there. Have you gotten that yet?
Yes, and I think I responded which ones I had, which I wasn't sure that it was very many. So I can go back and check on it, but I'm not certain.
I sent one after that. So
okay.
I will resend that just to make sure that you guys have that.
Okay.
Okay, real quick. Sorry. I was looking at the barcodes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, so the first 4 digits, is that like stays the same, right? I just go with the next one and just keep working my way up?
Well, so your first 2 digits will stay the same.
2, okay.
As you keep adding to your collection, those numbers are going to grow out to that.
That's what I figured.
But yeah, your first 2 digits, that's what we refer to as everybody's range. What are your first 2 numbers?
4-8.
Okay, so Carnes Middle's 4-8. I think Becky, wasn't yours 0-7? Yeah. So each school has a specific range, and we keep those kind of in a silo in case we ever adopt a program where we all have one union catalog. We won't have barcodes on top of each other. So eventually your numbers will get up closer and closer into those 4-8s, but yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Yep.
It says my vendor logins do not indicate history.
Okay. So new people, when your vendor logins, once you get in there, you should be able to see your school's history. They should have rolled the former librarians and all the librarians before them into your account. If that didn't happen, if you log in and it doesn't show any order history, no saved lists, no nothing, then contact that vendor and tell them that you need access to the school's historic data.
Do we need to upload our collection into each one before ordering, or will that continue?
So, no, you don't have to. And that's why it's important to have your school's historic data in there. If you log on to, let's say, Permabound, and you're attached to the Carnes Middle historic account, it should already know what Carnes Metal has, through a collection analysis. Now, if let's say you decide to use Permabound, but Karen never did, she may not have ever uploaded her collection into that vendor. You may want to do that so that it'll go through and look for the duplicates for you.
Okay.
But if it's already in there, it should be okay.
Okay, that works. I wasn't sure, like the crossing over with Bound to Stay Bound, Permabound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look for it.
What else?